This is George Dionne of the Rock is George podcast, and this is a KNAC.com exclusive interview with vocalist LEIGH KAKATY of the hard rock act Pop Evil. If I knew absolutely nothing about Pop Evil,
Yep.
how would you describe the band's music to me?
What do I want to call it? Hard rock mixed with metal, melodic vocal. I'd say something like that in that vein.
You have a new album coming out on March 21st. It's your 8th studio album. It's called What Remains. It's coming out through MNRK Heavy. A lot heavier in sound than I'm personally used to for Pop Evil, but still melodic enough to play to rock radio. Is this kind of the sound you were always heading for?
I don't think we're always trying to head for anything. We just kind of evolve. You just kind of go where the music takes you. It's just as a singer, as a writer as well. You kind of, especially 8 albums in, you kind of go where your kind of mind's taking you. You're going where what you feel like motivates you. I think when we 7 albums in again, previous and now the 8th album on the horizon, you kind of know with the successes we had, we know the failures we've had. The things that haven't worked, try to stay away from. But at the same time, with the things that have worked, we don't want to just duplicate that. We want to respect it, but at the same time, be open to still be creative. We feel like we still have a lot to prove in our career. There's a lot of cool music and creative expression we can still release. So just trying to push down those rabbit holes and just chase those things that kind of intrigue us and motivate us to just keep that energy and that positive energy going, so we can deliver that that music on stage. I mean, it's all about the live show for us at Pop Evil.
You mentioned the successes and the failures. It's sort of what this album is about. What Remains is sort of your journey with the band over the last 2 decades, correct?
Correct. Exactly right. Exactly right. When you think about that ultimate, destruction or that chaos that's happened in your life, you have a choice. What remains is you, right? So you're going to look at life glass half full or glass half empty. You have a choice when you leave that door, your house or your apartment, wherever you're leaving, to you be a better version of yourself, or do you want to live in that black hole that is easy to sometimes fall into.
Well, let's talk about some of the songs that you've released ahead of the album. Why don't you tell me what inspired the song Death Walk?
Death Walk is again just music came about first, and as we started to explore the music, it just felt like a march. It felt like wow, we're walking towards something. And then I took that metaphor as, well, life, right? We're walking towards that eventual death day. And it's not something that we always like to talk about. I mean, no one likes to think about that, right? It's like, well, what are you going to do? Do you have your will made? Do you have, what are you going to do when you die? Or do you know what bills are going to be paid? What coffin are you got your coffin paid for? Just so many of these dark questions come up when you think about, your final day. And I just thought, wow, what about a song that just kind of embraced that? Like, I'm on my death walk, we're all kind of headed in that direction. What would it sound like, And we chased that kind of concept. And, as we got further and further into the bridge and into the outro, it was just like, wow, this is an interesting song. Is this gonna? And then again, how we do it is I'll write songs, and then not even thinking about Pop Evil or thinking about the record, we just write them, and just kind of, where do they take us? And then you spend a few weeks, months listening to them, and like, wow, is this something we want to put out there? And just Death Walk kept kind of coming back and coming back. It was just kind of, it had such a catchiness to us musically, and of course with the hook. But at the same time, I was like, wow, this could be something that could really be different for our live show. And obviously, like I said earlier, it comes back to the live show. We're constantly looking for things that can just make our fan experience, for those that come see us live, get involved and challenge them, not only musically, but challenge them, sonically, mentally. Like, oh, wow, gives them something different to think about. So if you haven't heard our song on YouTube or on the radio or streaming, but you come see us live, wow, what Death Walk, what's that all about? You want to go back and listen to that again. And then once you start relating some of these songs to your own life, it's crazy how much healing that music can play, right? And we just want to have our part to play some small role into helping someone else, man. And you just don't know what song's going to do that for someone, and every song has the potential to help someone in a different way. And Death Walk just felt like it was a language that people aren't used to hearing, but we feel like there's someone that wants to hear that, that can relate to understanding that, look, we are going on our death walk. Just because it's a dark, morbid theme doesn't mean that we can't take a positive spin on that. So it just was one of those songs. Again, not overthinking it. I try not to overthink any of these songs. It just, you get them, and there's healing for me, and some of them mean something different to me at the start of the album process, but at the end of it can mean something totally different. So again, try not to overthink these things at the beginning stages, and just kind of let the songs take you on that journey where they do anyways. So it was fun though. It was a fun experience making that one for sure.
You mentioned that some of the songs were healing for you. I believe the album's title track was one in particular that was healing for you. It did. You mentioned in the press release that the lyrics were a personal healing.
Absolutely. There's a ton of personal healing on this. Again, it's still even new to me to talk about because I'm so used to just bearing that and just kind of like not showing my feelings. Because, as a leader of a band, as the leader of my family, like personally, you have to be strong to make sure that, people can, rally around you to be positive, and if you're depressed and you're stuck, it can take the life out of certainly the whole Popular project, take the life out of the people that are around me regularly. It's not a fun place I like to be at, but when I sat down and shut my eyes on this record, once What Remains, the song, was written, it just more came out. Death walk. I'm on my death walk. There was a lot of the frustrations and trials that I've had in this business, certainly in my personal life as well, and it just apparently needed to come out. And normally I shy away from writing about my own personal kind of journeys, other than Torn to Pieces, and I mean, there's been some in my career, but looking back, I'm more comfortable writing, putting myself in someone else's shoes. So to kind of take it a little more personal was a challenge for me. And as these songs started to kind of come to fruition and more songs were written, it just became apparent. I remember my manager calling me halfway and was like, "Look, man, do you realize what these songs are about?" I'm like, "No," because again, I wasn't overthinking this stuff. I'm listening to them and going on to the next. And as he's like, "I want you to read these lyrics that you've written," and I'm like, "Okay." And once you took the music away and really started to read the lyrics, it was like, "Oh my gosh, like, wow, I guess I do need this more than I thought," and it became very therapeutic. And as more songs were written, it was just like, wow, just like once I shut my eyes and opened my mouth, it was almost like it was such a natural progression and just where my life is now and what needed to come out. And as we really started to dive in on what we wanted to kind of call this album, it just seemed like it was just apparent. It had to be What Remains. There's just no song stronger to me in my life personally, which has affected me the way that one has. And it just seemed like that was the building block to set the stage for not only this album, but moving forward and where the band might go. And this needed to come out, and it needed to come out in a way that just needed to be defined and kind of permanently set in stone, so to speak. What Remains was going to be called this was going to be our eighth album. So once we called it that, now it's cemented, and hopefully the healing can begin.
And sort of this running theme of dealing with the ups and downs of your life progresses through the albums. The way that the three singles that you have out, you realize how they tie in. Wishful Thinking is kind of dealing with tragedy and recovering from the tragedy and how you deal with it, correct?
Right.
So another song that I liked a lot was Criminal, and that's more about dealing with outside haters and kind of believing in yourself. If you want to expand a little bit on that.
Yeah, very cool song. One of our first ones that I wrote with Joey and Blake, who are our newer band members. And I remember them pitching me the song. They're like, "Hey, we got a song we wrote about you, as if we were you." And I'm like, I love that, because sometimes when you do writing exercises and let's say you and me are going to write, I'm going to write in your perspective. I'm going to pretend I'm you. You're going to pretend you're me. I'm going to say things about you that you might not say about yourself, just because you're humble or you're kind. I'm going to be a little more take a cocky approach to it because I can. It's fun. You know what I mean? So as they came in, they obviously know things I struggle with and things I've been upset and frustrated about in my career. And when they came in, you think about those people that kind of they tell you one thing, but their actions don't do that, right? Everyone wants to be successful, but in my opinion, they don't always do the things that require you to be respected and whatnot, right? So I'd rather be a criminal than be people perceive that I'm that. I'd rather do the right things that I feel are required to inspire others rather than be face value and you say you're going to be there, but really you're not doing those little things, right? So, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at with it. Like, I'd rather be a criminal than, be just put up on a poster and like, oh, look at me, but really I got all this trouble. I'm going through all these demons. You still there?
I'm still here.
Okay, got it. So that's kind of where criminal kind of takes its stage. We took that concept and and then of course you mix it with that the upbeat tempo, the drums, and then of course the aggressive guitars, and it's definitely an energetic one. We're stoked about kind of fitting into our live show.
You mentioned Blake Allison. He's new to the band. He's your drummer. How did he end up being recruited?
Well, he plays in a band called Devour the Day in Egypt Central with Joey Walser, who's our bass player. So they've always been kind of a duo package, and I know when we needed a bass player, Joey had come into the project first, and we were all kind of like, okay, what about Blake? And Blake was so supportive. He's like, it's okay as long as there's a great opportunity for Joey. Excuse me, I want him to, just go for it. And I was like, well, look, I'm not gonna. You don't have to quit any of these other bands. I support your other bands, and I'm a fan and I'm a brother, and let's just see what happens and where it goes. And I said, if there's ever a chance where we need a drummer, let's see if you can't, let's see if you can't be the one, And of course, sooner than even we thought, it came up where we needed a drummer, and Blake and I had a discussion if he was still up for it, and if he was going to be able to take the commitment on that is Pop Evil. And he was like, absolutely. Because I'm like, again, I don't want you quitting your other bands or anything like that. I want you to be able to, have your other bands too. When we're not doing Pop Evil, I want you to be able to do whatever you need to do. And he was like, super grateful that I was supportive like that. And he gave me the comfort to know. He's like, dude, I'm here for Pop Evil. I'm ready to go. So I was like, well, let's see how it goes and let's dive in, man. And in the meantime, I'm excited to get you back on the drum kit. So again, it was probably about a 2-year window here where we've had to just kind of like get him back, and because it's been a while since he's played the drums, and he's just been more than ever. I mean, his drive, his dedication to be the best and to be perfect is incredible. And he's just been a blessing to have, not only just for his drum skills, but just the fact that he's also a singer in his other band, Devour the Day. It's been nice to have another brother in the camp that understands what it's like to go, from to be in the position of a singer and any kind of trials or tribulations I'm going through. He understands, and to be able to have someone that can kind of you can bounce ideas off with vocally, it's a huge blessing, and it's something that we look forward to in the future to just kind of just keep growing and to use that as an advantage for Pop People. So we're excited about Blake and Joey as well, and the two new additions have been super exciting on this album, and hopefully we can set the stage for us to really grow and be creative in years to come with future albums with this lineup.
Awesome. Now, as much as we've talked about what remains lyrically being you laying your life bare, it's not really the first time that you've done it through lyrics and Pop Evil. I mean, Waking Lions from your 2017 self-titled album was pretty personal, and it was sort of a pivotal song in your career because prior to that, from what I understand, you were thinking about giving it all up.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I think you've seen little nuances of it, but I was able to in the albums to kind of shift, from me, or disguise it, not come out, certainly not come out and talk about it, as the kind of like whatever. But you're right. I mean, but for me personally, yeah, those were little healing moments, and I think started with Trenches. I mean, obviously I wasn't thinking about giving it up when Trenches, that was our third album, but I remember, the business is tough. To break through in this business is very tough, and I'd be lying to you to say it doesn't eat. I mean, it's something for me personally. I think about this 24/7. It's not like this is a passive thing for me. I mean, obviously now 8 albums in is proof in the pudding that we're still here. So it's something that, and if you're not thinking about it 24/7, it's very tough. And you think about those bands that came out when we came out, not a lot of them left. You know what I mean? So if it's something that's not consuming you, it's real easy to go do something else because it's just sometimes it's easier. But to stay in, to stay relevant, to try to have more hit songs and another hit song, it seems like it's always like, oh man, how am I going to write another one of these? How are you going to do it? And I'm sure any writer be lying to you that doesn't have some kind of like that doesn't come in at some point and go, wow, I hope that Do I have enough? And even at any level, even though you might get another big hit song, it might be number one, that doesn't mean it's going to cut through the way that your other songs have, you know. So, but you're right. You know, there's been moments in the back catalog where, yeah, you see songs that were for me or had more influence on me, but for me to come out, I didn't know that it was healing for me in some ways, right? I just thought, you know, okay, well, I don't. Do I really want to do this anymore? But you might ask me, well, why don't you want to do it anymore? And I'd be like, well, I don't know. I just don't. I don't know if I can. I'm just mentally confused. I don't know. I don't. I might not have understood. It almost took the pandemic where they took this all away from us to go back and have. Because you think about it, like the pandemic gave us a year and a half off. Before that, I don't think I've ever. I mean, I was at least playing cover bars. I was playing cover bars since I was 18 years old. You know what I mean? So it's like I never really was away from music in my adult life. You know what I mean? So once that pandemic kind of took it away, it was like, oh my gosh, you know, like, do I really want to do this? Because those musicians that didn't want to never came back. But for those of us who did, we had to literally look at ourselves in the mirror and say, well, what do I want from this? What do I want to gain from this? What am I doing this for? You know, so it kind of, I think during the pandemic, it reignited my love for the business and for music. You know, it's like, wow, like I do want to be doing this. I do want to help people. I do want to play this game of chess where every move you make can lead to a move where you go back home. You know what I mean? So it's very cutthroat, it's very difficult, but at the same time it can be very gratifying when you have those successes. And those successes don't always mean number one records. It's chasing perfection, right? It's sounding better than your last album. It's sounding better than your last tour. It's growing camaraderie with your brothers that are in your band. It's you know, setting out in this fraternity that is pop evil, that is trying to be better, be greater than you were. And the true competition at the end of the day is against yourself. No one's going to remember when it's all said and done, you know, who are you competing against? What were those other bands you were? They just are going to remember the great bands, and they're just going to remember that you were around and you grew and and your catalog has grown. And oh my gosh, think about, you know, the fact you're talking to me about Waking Lions. That was, you know, albums ago. It'll be awesome to have people talk to me about What Remains that's coming out here in a few weeks. You know, about songs off this album, you know, years from now. I mean, it's the grind. It's that kind of only thing we know, right? Like get out, release another album. When that's done, release another single. Is it going to be song basis years from now instead of albums? But release that another song. Are you going to get back and it's time to write? Well, you know what? Now it's time to get back on the road and play these songs live. Like it's a blessing and it's an honor to be able to be on tour and have one person come see you. So, you know, to look at things more glass half full rather than half empty is, I think we learned that during the pandemic. We learned that, like, hey, I don't care if I got to go play in front of 5 people. I don't care about it. Where, you know, before the pandemic was like, oh, there's not enough people. Man, I wish we were playing this or this or that. That all went away. It was like, man, I just want to play for anybody. This would be great to be able to play again. So I think it was the ultimate reset for most of us musicians to be back, be grateful for what you have, be grateful for the opportunities you have, because you might not have those again. We could be in another pandemic a year from now. You know, it just is like, it just totally shook or it shook us to our core, shook me to my core. And you know, allowed me to kind of put in perspective these songs and allowed me to be in a place where I could even heal this album. So it's different. I'm still learning. I'm still trying to process it as the questions come up. Obviously, you're asking me questions. I'm not thinking about these questions at all in my real life. So until I get asked them, I'm trying to give you an honest answer, thinking about it in the moment. You know, I don't know, you know, why I wrote Waking Lions all those years ago. It came together. I believe it was passed on to me from whatever my musical spiritual powers were that passed me those lyrics. Because, you know, sometimes you ask yourself that, or you know, nieces, nephews, kids around you, the camp will go, why did you write that? Because of course they love Waking Lions because it's about a lion. Who doesn't love lions, right? And then you know, I'll get asked that, like, why did you write that? And I'm like, you know, I don't exactly know. Something came to me, that concept came to me, Waking Lions, and why I decided to take it in a false Waking the Lion. I mean, why you go there in that moment, I don't know, man. You just shut your eyes and you feel it and you trust the feels, right? And I think the minute you start to overthink it and ask yourself, well, I wrote it because the minute you know why you wrote it that way is the minute it's not a hit song. Like, because you shouldn't know why you read it. Should just come out. It should be something that, like, it's bigger than you. It's bigger than your brain. It's bigger than your mental process can handle it. There's no way you're going to understand why I wrote. I mean, I can try to tell you now looking back, but in the moment, I had no idea. I wasn't thinking about it like that. You're just thinking about, man, that melody feels good. I'm a melody writer. So I'm writing melody first, right? And I write choruses first because sometimes the verses are the harder things to write, because once you get that chorus, even in What Remains, the chorus I wrote first in less than 20 minutes. It was like, it's like once the chorus is written, you're like, wow, this song feels special. And then, sometimes then you write and Waking Lions, oh my God, that the verses took up to the last minute. I had the verses written for I want to say about a month before the final studio session. And literally, this is going to sound stupid, but this is the exact truth. I had a dream the night before my last vocal session, and we weren't doing Waking Lions. Waking Lions was done, and it was super heavy. The verses were really heavy, and I was in a really throaty, heavier vocal take. And I didn't know about it. I was like, and at that time, I didn't know if radio would even play that. I'm like, I don't know if they're going to play this because, it's so heavy in the verse. Like, is that, I don't know. And at that time, pop people had done nothing like that, in a verse perspective. And I remember I had a dream that night. That's how much I think about it. I'm so consumed. And in that dream, Snoop Dogg was in the dream. I don't know why. I played a couple shows with Snoop Dogg in my day, but Snoop Dogg must be the all giver of ideas because he was in my dream that day. He's been in my dream twice, and both times were hit songs. He was in my head with Trenches, and he goes, "No, you need to play the song. That needs to go more." And I played him the song Trenches. Side note, and he didn't like it. He goes, and I never do this. I never get up and I barely remember my dreams. And he goes, "No, you need to write it more like Dano, reggae, and I literally woke up cold sweat in my dream. In those days, I had a voice recorder under my pillow because our phones didn't record. Took my voice recorder out and went brown out, brown down, and then of course literally sang the guitar riff to my guitar players. They felt it, wrote it how it is now. And of course, the rest is history. Trenches is Trenches, one of our first number one, and one of our biggest songs today. And then in the Waking Lions, he was like, "No, no, no, you need to this song needs to be, oh, you need to redo these verses." And he didn't hum anything to me, but he goes, "These verses aren't going to make the cut for whatever reason." Got up the next day and redid. I remember saying to Cato, who was our producer, I was like, "We need to redo." And we were doing a different song, and I remember saying to him, "I'm like, we need to redo the Waking Lions verses. I got an idea. Let me just drop these." And I had a melody with the tell me I mean, I had melody with it that I thought was just a little catchier, and there enough, we dropped the verse vocal and we did it in, I think, an hour or so, and we shifted gears. So we went against what we needed to do. We ended up getting the other songs finished, but we got the melodic verse vocal down on Waking Lions, and the rest is history. Again, one of my biggest songs today. So thank you, Snoop Dogg. Appreciate it if you're watching. So he helped me with that. But that's the real story, man. Whether it's cool or whether it's ridiculous, that's exactly what happened.
Does Snoop Dogg know that he's responsible for these inspirational dreams?
He does now. He does now. I owe him at least dinner or something like that for sure. For
Sure.
sure.
Well, I'm sure he'd settle for a smoke break with you.
I'm sure. You know what? That's what I'm not a smoker, but I'd have to smoke one at least was for Snoop to show my thanks.
Pop Evil has an album release party coming up on March 20th in New York City at Cult of Individuality.
Yeah.
It's going to be like acoustic. You're going to listen to the album, do a little meet and greet. What can fans expect beyond that?
Yeah, man, I'm excited. I mean, again, I'm kind of the band has been a little more involved in this. I've been kind of just staying on the skirts a bit. Obviously, I know all about it, but we're going to go in a couple days early and really again, we have like a rough skeleton sketch of what we want to do, but it's going to be I'm actually looking forward to getting out there and really kind of refining this. It's a one-off. We've never done anything like this before with Octane, so I don't really have any like preconceived sketches to go by. This is a one of one. It's the first time we've ever done it. So I'm really excited to see. Obviously, some of these, obviously, these new songs are going to be the first time we're going to be in the room together practicing and playing them. So I'm really looking forward to kind of seeing how they start. I mean, will they all come together as planned right away? Or are they going to be like, okay, well, that one's not going to work. Let's put that on the back burner for a minute and come back to that. Because sometimes when you play them acoustically, they don't always go, they don't translate exactly how they do on the record. So it'll be interesting to see. Again, the band members and my brothers are pros, so it'll be fun to really challenge each other when we get in those first couple of rehearsals. It'd be like, okay, let's dive in. But it's going to be awesome. I mean, an opportunity to be with fans in an intimate setting like that. It's so unique and so rare. And I know it's a limited experience for certain people that get to win and get an opportunity to be there. So it's going to be a really, really cool event, and super grateful for the label and the managers and certainly Octane and Sirius Radio and of course Cult of Individuality for, helping put this thing together and giving us the platform to be able to do something unique like this for our fans. So I cannot wait. It was definitely something that we've been really excited about for a long time, and to have it now be only a couple of weeks away. Nervous, excited energy, man. I can't wait. As far as like what it's going to end up being in that, it's going to be a little bit of a work in progress. Like we want to get there to the rehearsals early on, and then it'll really take shape. But the excitement, I think that's what's going to make it fun for the fans. Like it's going to be a bit of I don't want to say fly because it's going to be, it's going to be organized, but it's a little bit, it's new for us. It's not something we do all the time. So it will be a little bit of a, okay, let's just dive in and just roll with it. But certainly with Pop Evil, those are the things we really kind of excel at, and those are things that we it's almost like the more unknown and the more that I don't know about it, the better it's going to be. Sometimes when you start to get it really structured, and I got to follow a pattern or a grid, or I got to follow up an outline, then it gets a little more stock. Like I love that they've given me, the band's given me the freedom to just kind of run with it and just be me up there. And I haven't played a show in about 4 months, so it'll be interesting to kind of get my feet wet again and get back in this touring mode. And what a perfect way to do it than in a great city like New York, and with an intimate setting with our fans and a Cult of Individuality and the Octane listeners, and it's going to be a special night, no doubt.
A few weeks after that, you're kicking off your North American tour with Devour the Day, Return to Dust, and Oni, I believe his name is.
Yep.
Runs from April 8th to May 18th. Is this just the first leg of what you have planned?
I don't know. I know we got other things planned. We'll see. We'll see. I haven't been I've been so focused on just this first leg to get dived in, but obviously a lot more touring this year definitely is in the works and in the plan, at least in the thought process. So, right now just focusing on this particular leg, and obviously a lot of great bands we're with. And even a band like Devour the Day with Joey and Blake, our bass player and drummer, are in Devour the Day, so it'll be double duty for them. So I know we're looking forward to not only sharing the stage with them, but also getting to watch them before the set, and certainly getting to tease them a little bit, making sure their knees and their body parts aren't getting too abused on the set before ours. So it's going to be a fun tour, man. I definitely want to say to fans that are on the fence or fans that have seen it before, it's definitely shaped up to be the best Pop Evil tour yet. And going to be a lot of positive energy, man. A lot of excitement. Obviously, Return to Dust and Oni, phenomenal bands as well. We just got off tour with Oni on our last tour with Bad Wolves. They are incredible and certainly on the rise. So you want to get to this tour and get there early, because these opening bands are phenomenal. And then, of course, getting to finally end the night with us. We're looking forward to. Can't wait to see everybody in April and this spring, and a new album and new music on the horizon, man. It's going to be a sweet set.
Next year is going to be the 25th anniversary of Pop Evil. Do you have anything in mind to celebrate that milestone?
Man, I didn't even realize it. Tell me, it's crazy how fast time flies. But no, we got to have something special for the 25th anniversary for sure. We'll definitely be in talks about it. But as of now, I'm keeping a tight lip. We'll just keep it zipped up. We'll just keep it on the hush.
Well, Leigh, those are all the questions I have for you today. The new Pop Evil album is What Remains. It comes out on March 21st through MNRK Heavy. Very heavy and deep album, and I wish you the best of luck with it. And I want to thank you for telling me more about it today.
Thank you so much for having me, the support of the new record, the support of Pop Evil, and hopefully we can do this again in person one day. Be great.